one of my few mentors that's actually younger than me, Dr. Brad Glowacki. So, Brad, welcome.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks for having me on here.
No worries. So, guys, we're going to take about 15, 20 minutes to talk about a very important topic. I know it's near and dear to Brad's heart and his practice, and certainly is to my practice, and that is what we call AC/DC. And not only do we both love the rock band, and I can remember Brad back listening in my bedroom to Back in Black on cassette tape over and over and over again. So it's one of my favorite bands. But we're also terming this allowing corporations to discover chiropractic. And I would venture to say that Brad's been extremely successful elevating the chiropractic profession in a corporate arena. Most corporations that I've dealt with don't have a broad perspective of who we are and what we do as chiropractors. And I dare say Brad's doing a great job with the Corporate Skeleton Key and Wellness Champions of changing that. And that's certainly been our mission with 8 Weeks to Wellness, because we really feel as chiropractors, not only do we have the education and the knowledge to be go-to wellness specialists, but they're not going to get it anywhere else. So they're going to get it from the medical profession, which is going to be a bastardized form of wellness like flu shots or mammograms and things like that. So let's just jump right into this. All right. So Brad, you and I met probably going on 5, 6 years ago?
Yes. Yep.
And I tell you, I remember the first time that I saw Dr. Brad speak. It was at a Master Circle event, and I was just extremely impressed. And I tell you, there's not many people, I say this, I've said it to you many times, Brad, but I don't know if I know of one chiropractor, especially in a leadership role like you are, that's a harder worker than you are. And I really commend you for that. You just work your butt off for this profession, and I really admire you for that.
I appreciate it, and I think we share a similar work ethic in the sense that we both work with a sense of urgency. Now is our time. Today is the day. This has got to be done this week. And, the work we've now collaborated on with corporate and getting docs involved, it's really formed a nice synergy because some of the language and the things that are going on in corporate, you're well versed on from a practical standpoint. And I think from a marketing standpoint, there always needs to be a sense of urgency. There always has to be like right now mentality as opposed to, well, I can get to it next year. I think that's what drives me. But really we started putting our heads together on this idea of corporate. That's where AC/DC is going to take off is, allowing corporate to discover what it is we do as chiropractors. Now is the time, and I think docs need to have a sense of urgency with this as well. And the other thing is this is going to be a one-time event, so if they want to get involved, this is your shot to do it.
No doubt. And I keep saying, Brad, it's kind of like when chocolate met peanut butter when you and I met because, not only do we have an awesome message in chiropractic, but we need a megaphone. We need a microphone to be able to voice that message to a large community. And I don't know of a bigger community right now that's in dire need from an economic standpoint. I truly believe that that's the platform that's going to move and drive things to really change is the economics of this than corporations.
You're right. And it's one of those where you've got assembled groups, attentive audiences, employed people. You can find out if they have benefits, if they don't have benefits, if you want cash. Whatever practice style you have and want, you should be able to deliver that. And that's absolutely something I think that becomes imperative. And really shortening the time cycle and really getting to the nuts and bolts of what this call is about is really what's up there on the slide right now. If you understand what an insurance broker does for corporations, for small businesses, and for companies in general, they provide health insurance options to the company. When they provide health insurance options, the person they work to and through all year long is the human resource director. So this graph that Dan and I have kind of come up with, this photo, if you will, is kind of the essence of why this is so important, is if you get connected with one broker who we promise you, Dan and I promise you, they are actively looking for our message and messengers like us to go into corporate, we satisfy the need not only of the broker but also the human resource director. Now you can spend hours and weeks cold calling a human resource director, but it's just that. It's cold and it's a call. If you work through a broker, it can be more than a warm lead, and it gets to be done in person. What Dane and I have successfully done through an insurance broker is we get access to their 50 to 60 clients, because that is the breakdown. Each broker has on average 50 to 60 human resource directors in your area, most likely in your zip code, that you can then work with, and it becomes a warm handoff. The way we've been doing this, just in the interest of time, is it's basically a talk to do talks. It's a meeting to set up events. It's not an idea that you've got to cold call them and try and work it from there. We have our insurance brokers putting us in front of their audience, making introductions, making introductions by email, to where the next question is, when are you coming in, Doc? When are we booking the event? And if you don't understand this bird's eye view of what a broker does to an HR director, that's okay. That's why we're putting on this event. If you don't understand why a broker would want to work with you, then you need to come to this event. And if you understand the fruits of working with human resource directly as an asset, not a solicitor, then you'll see the future of your practice grow exponentially. And that's where some of Dane's expertise is coming, is really positioning this as an asset. And I think the greatest quote I've heard on this topic in particular from Dane is that givers gain. And when you can give to the HR director, you will not only gain new patients, but you strengthen that bond back to the broker. The broker will have trust in you, and what they do is they basically open up their portfolio. This isn't theory. It's something Dane and I do every week. It's also something we've replicated with doctors who follow our teachings. The 8 Weeks to Wellness docs in Dane's camp have had tremendous results with this. The docs doing my corporate skeleton key have had great results. This is the first time, and will be the only time, we're offering this ACDC seminar to people not in either one of our camps, because it's really time to move this message out there, but it's got to be done with a sense of urgency. Dane and I, our loyalties are to the doctors in our programs, CSK and 8WW. We promise and commit and serve those doctors every week, but we realize there's a much bigger play here, and we've tapped into some companies and corporations that go beyond our networks. What we're trying to look at doing through this seminar as well is create a second tier of doctors. If we don't have a corporate skeleton key doc or an 8 Weeks to Wellness doc to go with companies, because we're turning up massive amounts of companies that need lectures, need doctors, then we can also, as a byproduct of this seminar, refer them to you, because you would at least understand the basis and foundation of what they're looking for, how to deliver it, and how to make us look good. So, kind of speaking quickly and moving through it fast, this is a photo you should have ingrained in your brain. One broker equals 50 to 60 HR. What to say, how to do it, and all the rest of it is why we're doing this seminar. And not only have we had results, Dane and I, but it's been replicated by hundreds of doctors in our programs. It's a phenomenal way to go.
Absolutely. And just to bring it down to ground level and make it real for people, I'll just give an example of something that happened last week on Thursday. As I probably once a month do, one of my bigger brokers that I work with, and they represent about 80 to 85 companies in our area, Brad, I had lunch with her, and she emailed me the next day a company, it's called First National Bank. They have about 30 branches in our area that's doing a health fair at the end of September that she wants us to run. Now, they have other vendors that are going to be coming in, but she wants us to be the lead vendor and do wellness scores and do posture checks and things like that. And, we would have never made that contact if we didn't have the broker, obviously. And that's what we're going to teach you. And one thing I can tell you from this relationship that I formed with just this one broker is that relationship took time because, as you know, Brad, and as I know, working with these brokers now, they don't see us as wellness specialists at first. And you've got to know what to say and what not to say, because they almost look at you sometimes as a liability, as somebody who's going to increase workers' comp in a company and actually cost the company more money, not be an asset to truly change the corporate culture and get employees healthy.
Right. And it's one of those, if you understand how they're working and what they're looking for, it's a real easy language to speak. But they move with caution. They move with a little bit of trepidation. And once you get the first one or two of their clients, again, who are HR directors, giving them good feedback, they open their entire portfolio. And if you know anything about Dane and I, we always minimize the results because we want to exceed your expectations. So when I say 50 to 60 and Dane has a living example of 85, that's exactly what we want. Some of you will bump into brokers that have over 100 clients. I'm going to set your expectations at 50. If 50 whets your appetite and excites you, then come to ACDC, because the plethora of people is just, it's going to blow your mind. And the number one question I always get is, how do you get in? How do you get into more places? Well, I'm going to give you two options. Keep cold calling, or let's go teach you how to meet brokers.
No doubt.
plain and simple.
And I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this, Brad. But as I always say with everything I do, I don't care what it is, you've got to lead with service. You've got to lead with what can I give before I can get something. And I think in this corporate culture, we see just the opposite in chiropractic. It's like, hey, how can I get in that company, or how can I get into that gym and rape them for as many new patients as possible? And that bus has left the station a long time ago. So what we got to do now is everybody's got to win in this transaction. The broker's got to win, the corporation's got to win because it gets healthier employers, and obviously we want the chiropractor to win. It's got to be a win-win-win, and that's what we're going to be teaching in ACDC.
Absolutely.
And one of the things too, Brad, that you taught me and that we do all the time is we get paid to do talks. I think a lot of these doctors need to know that these companies have corporate budgets for lunch and learns, for wellness screenings, a lot of the services as wellness champions that we're providing to our corporations. And so how would you like to actually get paid to go in, do a talk, and get new patients? I mean, instead of paying somebody like I used to 10 years ago, pay somebody to get me some lame-ass talk, now I actually go and talk and get paid to do them.
Yeah, and Dane's been the king of risk reversal. I mean, the truth is he's been the guy that's probably gotten paid the most, but it's reproducible, it's replicated all the time. That's so much of what we do.
And let's just kind of run through this, Brad, and I'll have you touch on each one. We already touched on this is basically attracting believers, which in this case we really want to get the believers to be really brokers, because by working with a broker, we're working with 60, 50, 70, 80 believers at one time, and somebody who is going to be your representative to get you out there to these companies to do screenings and lunch and learn talks.
Right. And it's one of those, you can either attract believers or you can attract skeptics. What would you want? And once you have the believers coming in the door, you're going to want more of them. If you make the broker the believer, then they're going to have 50 to 60 clients who are believers, and those 50 to 60 clients represent thousands of people in your community. That's a much better vision to be working from than how do I get 1 or 2 believers this week. Let me get one broker that's a believer who gives me their network, who gives me access to thousands of employees. That's the way to do it.
And Brad, you talk to brokers all the time. You talk to HR directors. Talk about, and because I know the answer to this, but our listeners probably don't, talk about what they're looking for and how we've kind of created these resources that we're going to provide at ACDC.
So basically, part of it is building the model that's inclusive of everybody that's there. You can do it what we call high tech, high touch. There's online access and portals that they can use and utilize. But most importantly, what these companies, believe it or not, really want is someone there live to drive the process. Some of these companies have walking programs, and that's wellness. Some of their wellness is flu shots. So it's wide open, but our model obviously is very consistent with chiropractic, with subluxation, with teaching people overall health and wellness, and making it a chiropractic message, not something that's the flu shot. It's a spot-on model.
Absolutely, and we've developed a model, guys, where we're going to provide all that to you. So, we know what talks the corporations are looking for. In terms of biometrics, that's kind of my baby. We really have this thing wired, and wait till you see what we've created in terms of providing a model for you guys where you don't, again, you can go out and create it on your own, but as a practicing chiropractor and having a family, I just don't have the time to recreate things where it's already been created. So trust me, this thing has been created. Come check it out. All the talks are done. The actual marketing resources that you need, emails. Brad's helped us create all of this. It's going to be just kick-ass.
Yeah, what we're going to give each doc is a library of info you're going to walk out of there with on a flash drive. So you'll have talks, you'll have research, you'll have the language for the coordinator. It's going to be a pretty impressive, comprehensive, detailed program, and you won't be missing anything. And where Dane has been so successful is demonstrating results. Just to be clear, you can be a weight loss center. You can be a subluxation-based center only. You can be, an AK office. It doesn't matter. But we're going to demonstrate results in the company that are very easy and simple, that speak volumes to them. You're going to have to come to the seminar and see how that works, but it's simple. And I'm one of those guys, I don't know blood work. I don't know labs. I don't know much about that. But the way that these corporations will consider things wellness, it actually is really, really easy. And again, it can be reproduced.
No doubt. And we're going to also, guys, anything that we teach you and Brad has just so many resources. Anything that we teach you to do, we do, and we're going to show you examples and videos of us doing it, whether it's a talk, whether it's a lunch and learn, a biometric screening, a corporate challenge. I literally just deposited a check for $9,000 last week from a corporate challenge that we did, Brad and I did with one of his companies. So it's just everything that we do, guys. We're going to show you results.
Yeah, show me somewhere else where they're writing checks for almost 10 grand to have you come in and do that and get new patients, and we're doing it, and we're doing it, and we're doing it. So, in the brand of being a wellness expert, we've had some refreshing interviews with HR directors and brokers that say, geez, we never knew chiropractors could do this kind of stuff. We've been excluded from the start. We don't even have a place at the table. But let me tell you, the conversations are occurring. And some of the most important things in healthcare, whether or not it's included in the media, in the newspapers, or in Obamacare, it doesn't even matter. CEOs know where it's at. They know what drives costs. They know what the real health risks are, and believe me, it's very much a chiropractic message.
Yeah, and this whole culture, guys, this whole circular culture, attracting believers, building model, demonstrating results, building a brand, this is what these companies are looking for. They're looking to change the culture of wellness. They know that they need to get their employees healthy. And, I've been to many talks on corporate healthcare that are not chiropractically driven, and the message is all about energy management. They are trying to manage energy. And again, as I always say, energy equals the capacity to do work if you look it up in the dictionary. So when people have better energy and they manage it better, they get more work done. And that's what the corporations and the leadership is looking for. They're looking for these people to have better energy. And who better than a chiropractor from removing subluxations and managing a person's energy where it's not being blocked, but also, from a chiropractic lifestyle, teaching eating better, thinking better, moving better, and the philosophy of chiropractic to get people to really manage their energy state a lot better. So Brad, talk a little bit, we talked a little bit about this before, maybe just touch on it, what insurance brokers are looking for, what we'll be covering in ACDC.
Sure. So ACDC is going to be a really comprehensive 2-day program in September. It's going to be held in Chicago, real easy in and out access, the 20th and 21st of September. And what we're going to do is teach you how to work through brokers so you can do a talk to do talks. You can do health fairs. You can do screenings by appointment. But the idea is there's a way to talk wellness so that your message is welcome at Lunch and Learn Talks, and you are brought in as a high-tech, high-touch component. There's also do-level things that can be done online. There's many portals and programs you can partner up with, you can reproduce, you can try to recreate. But if you want to have a spot-on message to build believers in your practice, Dane and I know exactly where to drive them and how to do that because, again, we've been doing this and getting paid to do it so that you're not making the mistakes. And some doctors, they'd rather have 5 years of mistakes and drag it out than to come to a weekend program and get it done in 2 days and then benefit for 5 years. They'd rather have the pain and toil for 5 years. This is a shortcut way. We're going to take our years of experience, cram it in to where you can actually do wellness, know what's a good online program and what's not. And we're not talking about phone call-in smoking cessation programs and, things of that nature that are really kind of wimpy and weak and aren't going to generate new patients. At the catalyst of all this is we want people out of awareness into action, meaning they schedule appointments in your practice. That's the goal. When I market, that is the goal. It's not about, anything other than that. Let's just call it what it is. If you're marketing, you should be creating new patients. But there's a new recipe to do it, and there's a new conversation that is occurring. It's around comorbidities from diabetes. It's around site-specific cancers. It's around this topic here, metabolic syndrome. Dane is the expert on that, but it doesn't matter who you voted for, Democrat or Republican. CEOs are having these conversations, and they want answers based on lifestyle to change it, and they know it's possible. It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to deliver the message or somebody else is.
Absolutely. And as I always say, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And what they care about is what they care about. Unfortunately, if you call a broker and you start talking about subluxation, it's game over. And it's not that subluxation is important. It's just not important to them. So you've got to know the language of what's important to a broker, what's important to an HR director, what's important to a CEO or a COO. And that's what we're going to be talking about, this topic, metabolic syndrome. We're also going to be talking about this, some of the studies that we can demonstrate to them how we can really change some of these comorbidities that Dr. Brad's talking about. How we can help them to see if they make these changes, they can prevent diabetes in their organization, heart disease, site-specific cancers, and just think about not only the cost savings due to claims, but think about the huge increase in productivity when a person's truly healthy. We're going to be talking about biometrics, guys. If you know anything about corporate wellness, you know that biometrics is a huge part of this because it is the demonstrate results part of a corporate wellness culture. They don't want to do wellness programs and pay for them if they're not going to see a return on their investment. And physiology in the employee and lab work is a return on that investment. So
let's keep it real simple, too, because you can do things like a waist-to-hip ratio where all you need is a tape measure. And companies are going nuts for this. So, I want to simplify it, too, because some people think that it has to be super, super low. Their expectations are so freaking low. If people walk an extra 1,000 steps a day, they're like giving them prizes and rewards. And, it's so basic right now. Now is the time to jump on the bus. It will get more evolved. They will find out answers different. And in 10 years, it'll be hard to engage. But right now is the easy time. So here's what we're going to cover at this program. And as Dane's pretty masterful at doing is laying out the critical moves to do that to avoid the fatal flaws. So Dane, will you jump through this real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, Brad, what we want to do is make sure that you guys, when and if, right, and it's hopefully going to be very soon after the seminar, you pick up the phone to call your broker. And by the way, Brad, we're going to show them the easiest route to get to brokers because we have just a great tip for them to know pretty much in a very short time all the brokers in their area. But when you pick up that phone and call a broker and take them out to lunch, man, you want to be well prepared. You want that broker to walk away and say, you know what, that chiropractor is impressive. I want to do business with them. So we're going to teach you how to get in, how to grow your corporate contacts through brokers, different ways to close a talk. And Brad, there's nobody better to close the talk. I mean, I not only in my corporate culture, but in my practice itself, the way that you've taught me to close my talks is just second to none. We're going to talk about learning how to become the go-to wellness specialist. So again, guys, you can't just fake this. You've got to understand the language. You've got to put a little bit of homework in to understand what they want and how to talk about this so they walk away and say, wow, that guy really knows metabolic syndrome.
Yeah, and the truth is the first time I heard that, Dane, metabolic syndrome was from you, and I didn't know very much about it, but at every corporate conversation since, I continually hear it. And it was evidence that I've got to know what this is. I've got to know what a comorbidity is. It's a whole different language. It's not super complicated, but you've got to know what these things are, or you're going to be left out of the dialogue for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things that we really didn't discuss much, but we do have a secret weapon here too, that we think is going to be just huge once we get into these companies and develop the relationship, and that's an online 8 Weeks to Wellness corporate challenge program that we've developed in concert with Wellness Champions that I think is just going to blow people's minds. We've been working on this for the last year and a half with Dr. Eric Perrone. Dr. Brad and myself literally meet once a week, and I can tell you when it comes to the high-tech, high-touch that Dr. Brad's talking about, it's just second to none. So we're going to be going over that as well. We're going to be talking about learning how to get paid, as we said, to do corporate talks and how that structure is laid out, how we do that. We're going to talk about learning how to get into corporations by leveraging your current contacts. So we have a whole system of, using your patients. Your patients work for corporations. So how do you leverage that contact with your patient to get to their HR director, maybe even get to the broker? We'll be covering that as well. And then also we'll be giving you, again, what talks work best. Over the years that Dr. Brad's been doing talks, that I've been doing talks, we get requests from brokers, from HR directors, so we know what they're looking for and what they want. And then finally, we'll be covering how to actually do biometric screenings, like Dr. Brad said. It doesn't have to be anything complicated, but putting a tape measure around somebody's waist, doing their blood pressure, having them fill out a health satisfaction survey or an SF-36. These are simple things that you can do that companies are looking for. So again, Brad, this isn't theory teaching. We're not going to be doing a lot of rah-rah stuff. We're going to be we won't have that much time. We're going to be getting down to business right away.
Yeah, we're going to give you a map to basically find out where the treasure is. We're going to give you the language. We're going to give you the scripts. We're going to tell you how to find the brokers, what to say, what not to say, what's a deal killer. You got to know it. It's a one-time event. We both have really busy practices, really busy speaking schedules, big stages in the country, out of the country, some really big stuff going on. So What we've done is just carved out a date that works for the three of us, Eric, Dane, and I, and this is it. It's September 21st and 22nd. As I mentioned previously, you're going to walk out with a thumb drive. You're going to have talks. You're going to have literature, research. You're going to have everything you need to make this process work. If you want to work with brokers, if you want to get in and be this new wave specialist that they're looking for and they have budgets for, then you need to be there. And it's going to be one of those, the education will continue beyond the course of the seminar. We'll do follow-up with you and give you info that you need. We are turning up companies and challenges and online and talks and health fairs all over the country. The other benefit is we're going to put you on like a second tier where if you're part of either 8 Weeks to Wellness or the Corporate Skeleton Key, those docs get first pick if they're local. But we've got a number of events now that aren't close to anybody we know, so you'll go into a database where we can farm out events to you. If you want to do this, come to Chicago. It's September 20th and 21st. You can fly in the morning because the seminar doesn't start till the afternoon on Friday, but then we go all day Saturday. And like I said, thumb drive, prepared notes, material. You'll leave with everything. It's phenomenal, and it's just all about getting above the personal contact to a human resource and having a bird's eye view through the broker.
Yeah, and I just noticed, Brad, I just want to correct this. You are correct. It is not the 21st and 22nd. It is the 20th and 21st. So I'm just going to correct that real quick. But also, just to talk about, something that we always do, Brad, and that's have fun. So, one of the things that we're doing it at a beautiful hotel, and if you are a listener and been to the Drake, it's just a classic Chicago hotel. We're going to have fun together. We're going to work hard. We're going to play hard together. We also want to reward the people. We don't, I believe, Brad, with the room that we have for this seminar only holds about 100 people. Is that correct?
Right.
So we are rewarding early behavior. So if you register before September 1st, you're going to have $200 off. Now, if you're an 8 Weeks to Wellness or CSK doctor already, we obviously want to reward you for that. It's going to be $495. The cool thing about this is you'll be able to bring one extra person, whether that's your key holder or whether that's your office manager or whether that's your spouse. That fee entitles you to bring one person, whether it's an associate as well. If you're not 8 Weeks to Wellness or CSK, like Dr. Brad said, that second tier, the cost of the program is $11.95, but again, before September 1st, it's $9.95, and again, you do get to bring a person as well, office manager, associate, marketing specialist, anybody you want to come to the program with you. And we're hoping to have, shortly guys, we're hoping to have a special rate, and once you register, we'll get you all that information of how to get the best rate at the Drake for the hotel.
Right. Yeah. So a phenomenal event. It's more of a boot camp workshop. We're not going to have opportunities to do these any other time, and the numbers may seem like it's a big amount, but the truth is you probably have to be paying 20, 30 grand for the amount of material and how this is going to fill up your calendar. It's exponential, it's personal, and it's quick. You get a broker on board, and it's quick results for filling up events with talks. You can keep paying companies to throw you fish, or you can learn to fish. This is one of the good ways to do it.
And what we're asking people to do, Dr. Brad, is to go to acdcexperience.com. So it's www.acdcexperience, all one word, .com, and that's where you can register for the event. The other thing you can do is call Dr. Brad's office and register as well, and the number is right there. It's 562-673-WELL, and you can register by talking to Shannon. Okay, guys? So I'll leave this slide up for just a moment or two. Dr. Brad, I really want to thank you for your time, as usual.
My pleasure, and it's going to be fun. It's a Friday, Saturday event. We will definitely be hanging out with the docs afterwards, whether it's having a cold beer or a glass of wine and really going over the notes. We are going to be super accessible. This is not a big stage performance, and then when the curtains close as we run away, we're going to mix and mingle throughout the weekend. So if you have questions, the learning can occur with a glass of wine or in the hallways or over breakfast. We're going to be super accessible. This is of major importance. If we're going to get involved in moving the meter, then you need to get involved now.
No doubt. And if you're Irish like myself, you'll probably have a cold beer and a glass of wine. Probably in a short time span, too. So.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Have a great afternoon. And Dr. Brad, thanks again.
Thank you, buddy.